The moment the gun clicked empty, the world would change for everyone in that bank, but especially for the quiet man holding his daughter's hand. And before this story ends, you'll understand why one decision, made in absolute calm, pushed a billionaire CEO to shock the world. If you believe ordinary people can do extraordinary things under pressure, tap like, subscribe to the channel, and stay with this story until the very last word, because the ending is the reason millions couldn't stop talking about it. The morning had started like most others for Daniel Harper. He woke before sunrise, careful not to disturb 6-year-old Lily sleeping beside a pile of library books and stuffed animals. Since his wife had passed 3 years earlier, mornings were a careful choreography of coffee, lunches, braiding hair, and whispered encouragements. Daniel was a warehouse supervisor by night and a father full-time by day. Money was tight, sleep was scarce, and grief still lived quietly in the corners of their apartment, but there was stability in routine, and that mattered more than anything. That morning, Lily needed to be at school late because of a dentist appointment. Daniel decided to stop by the bank afterward to deposit his paycheck and ask, once again, about refinancing a small personal loan. It wasn't hope that pushed him through those glass doors, just persistence. Lily skipped beside him, clutching her worn-out rabbit, asking if they could get pancakes after. Daniel smiled and said, "If we're quick." They had no idea how long they would be there. At the same time, across the marble floor near the far windows, Jonathan Creed stood waiting for a wire transfer to clear. He was the CEO of Creed Tech, a global technology firm valued in the billions. He rarely visited banks in person, but this transfer involved a charitable acquisition he wanted handled quietly. Dressed simply, no entourage, no announcement, he looked like any other man waiting for paperwork. Years of boardrooms, hostile takeovers, and crisis management had trained him to observe more than speak. Then the shouting began. 3 masked men burst through the entrance, weapons raised, voices shaking with a mix of rage and fear. The bank froze. Screams echoed. A security guard reached for his radio and was knocked to the ground. The robbers barked orders, demanding phones, wallets, silence. Time stretched thin, elastic and terrifying. Lily's fingers tightened around Daniel's hand. Daniel knelt instantly, bringing himself to her eye level. His voice didn't rise. It didn't shake. "Sweetheart, remember the breathing game," he whispered. "Slow in, slow out. I'm right here." He wrapped his arm around her, turning his body slightly, shielding her without making it obvious. He didn't stare at the guns. He didn't argue. He didn't panic. He stayed calm. From where he stood, Jonathan noticed. He noticed how Daniel's presence changed Lily's breathing. How the child, though terrified, mirrored her father's stillness. How Daniel never once begged or drew attention, but remained alert, grounded, protective. In a room full of chaos, one man was anchoring a child to safety with nothing but composure and love. Minutes dragged into an hour. One robber became increasingly agitated. A gun fired into the ceiling. Lily flinched, but Daniel whispered a story into her ear, about pancakes, about syrup rivers, about how brave rabbits always make it home. Jonathan watched, his jaw tight. He had led companies through billion-dollar losses without blinking, but something about this quiet courage hit deeper than any market crash. When the police finally breached the building, the robbery ended in a blur of shouted commands and metal clattering to the floor. No one was seriously injured. People cried. Strangers hugged. Relief came in waves. Daniel didn't realize he was shaking until Lily let go of his hand. As statements were taken and people began to leave, Jonathan approached Daniel. "You did something remarkable in there," he said simply. Daniel shrugged, exhausted. "I just did what any dad would do." Jonathan nodded slowly, but he knew that wasn't true. Weeks passed. Life returned to its difficult normal. Daniel worked, cooked, cleaned, helped Lily with homework, and worried about bills. Then one evening, an unfamiliar number appeared on his phone. He almost ignored it. The caller introduced himself as Jonathan Creed. Daniel thought it was a prank. It wasn't. Jonathan invited him for coffee. Then lunch. Then a conversation that lasted hours. Jonathan spoke about leadership, pressure, and fear. Daniel spoke about parenting, loss, and the discipline of staying calm when everything inside you wants to break. A month later, the world watched as Jonathan Creed stepped onto a stage at a global leadership summit. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward. He told the story of the bank robbery. He didn't name Daniel at first. He spoke about watching a man with nothing but love and self-control protect a child better than armed guards or billion-dollar systems ever could. He spoke about how true leadership isn't learned in boardrooms, but revealed in moments of fear. Then he announced his next move. Jonathan was stepping down as CEO. Gasps rippled through the audience. He explained that Creed Tech would launch a new global initiative focused on emotional resilience, parenting support, and crisis training for families and communities. And the man leading it, the man shaping its mission, would be Daniel Harper. The internet exploded. A single dad, no degree, no corporate background. Daniel didn't want the role at first. He was terrified, but Lily looked at him and said, "You're really good at helping people feel safe, Daddy." So he said yes. Years later, programs inspired by that one moment of calm existed in schools, workplaces, and emergency training worldwide. Daniel never forgot where it started. Jonathan never forgot what he learned. And Lily grew up knowing that strength doesn't always shout, that courage can whisper, and that sometimes, staying calm is the most powerful move of all. If this story moved you, reminded you of what truly matters, or inspired you to be just a little braver today, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope. Because the world doesn't change through noise alone, it changes through quiet moments of courage, just like this one.